Hey, Lisa, how are you?
Good. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. All right. So, the how much is the Lisa Lampinelli who we've seen on TV and seen all the roasts? How much of that is you versus the character you're playing when you're doing comedy?
Well, I think I retired from stand up in 2018, and off stage I was never much of a maniac or an insulter. I think I just ramped it up and took off, and it was a great character, and it was so much fun. It was definitely part of me, and I had a blast doing it. And thank goodness made enough money to get the hell out when I could. So I guess on the podcast now, I would say there's a tiny bit of that thrown in, just in case someone who wants advice annoys me. A little of the old Lisa has to come out.
How did you transition from doing stand up into the whole roast thing?
Oh my God. Oh, I remember that. What a great question. Because I was doing stand up for like 7 years. And someone at the Friars Club, which is the legendary society who handled the roast back then, saw me do stand up and making fun of people in the audience. And they were like, you should do the next roast. I'm like, what? Because I'd watched the Dean Martin roast when I was a kid.
Mhm.
So they, thank goodness, threw me on the Chevy Chase roast. Again, thank goodness I did very well. And it was just became my thing. And I did, countless numbers of them, probably 20 roasts. And it's very cool because that's sort of what made my mark initially.
Now, you also did Celebrity Apprentice.
Yeah, that was
Was
nuts.
was that looking back all these years later? Was that the right move to make, or is it something you probably said, I probably shouldn't have done that?
Oh no, because back then Donald Trump was not a politician.
Right.
He was just, businessman in New York, and it was great visibility for my charity, which is the Gay Men's Health Crisis. So it's good to have their name out there to help people. So I won $150,000, I think, for them. So that's never a mistake. Sadly, they wouldn't let me keep my 50% cut. So screw them too.
Now, you're out of comedy technically, although your podcast, I'm sure it revisits, especially like you said, when you have to zing somebody who's just a flat idiot. But if you ever had the opportunity to do a roast for charity, especially for the Gay Men's Health, because I know you're very proud of that. I watched you on the series when you came in the top four there, and you spoke so passionately about it. And I'm sure we didn't even get to see all the times you talked about it. Who would you want to roast, or what event would you do to go back and raise money or do something like that for, or would you never do it again because it's so far behind you now? You're like, new life, new wife, if you will. Let's go.
Right, right. It's funny you asked that because I just got asked to do a roast for charity. And I just was like, I can't. It's like the old, going back to the old, which again, I have no problem with comedy from the past. I loved what I did, but I'm just no longer in that game. I have written roasts behind the scenes for people recently, which is pretty cool because you sign an NDA and they don't know who you are and you don't know who they are. And it just all works out so that I can still kind of get the juices flowing and get it going, but I don't have to be public about it. So, yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. If someone asked me to do it, I would figure out a way to do it that was not a roast format. I would probably do an appearance, funny videos, something, but I probably wouldn't want to go back into stand up at all. It just doesn't hit me anymore as fun.
Right. But the writing part still keeps you in the game without people knowing you're in the game. So it's like a beautiful, ghostwriter, if you will. So I love that. Now, I have a question. As a chunky monkey and funny girl, do you find that the world for us women, when we're a little heavier, they expect us to be funny? Because I know I'm fat and funny, but I don't think I'm funny because I'm fat. And now you have gotten on a whole new life path with the journey you've taken with not only your surgery, but your wellness, your choices, everything else. Even went so far as, I love my husband, but I'm not in love with him. I'm going to introduce him to a new woman to marry and we could still be friends.
Yeah.
You're in a beautiful place in this thing called life.
Dude, I got so lucky that I just worked on myself so much. That's why the podcast has so much therapizing in it and talk about therapy because I just love working on myself. And I always said quitting is my superpower. I get out of things before I hate the person. So when me and Jimmy decided to get a divorce, it was like, oh, we don't hate each other. I like you enough to introduce you to a woman who's more suitable. Or, oh, I don't hate comedy. I just want to phase it out before I hate it. So yeah, I like the place I landed in. Like I have total peace with where everything ended up. It's so wild to go, how is life better now than it was 10 years ago? It just keeps getting better and better. And obviously there's struggles, keeping weight off,
Mhm.
trying to not hate yourself in other ways, trying to avoid disliking your face at a certain age. It's like all acceptance, and that's all I work on. So that's why I decided to do the podcast. I thought it would be cute to kind of help other people with acceptance of who they are too.
Tell me about the podcast. What is it, and what participation are you looking for from your listeners?
Oh, thank you for asking. Because it's called Shrink This because I do fancy myself an amateur life coach and shrink, even though I have absolutely no degrees or certifications. So I just know I have some wisdom and advice, and people write into shrinkthisShow@gmail.com, and I give them advice on different subjects. We have different topics every week. And friendship, relationships, weight stuff, body image stuff, anything you could think of, and we just kind of tackle what people are struggling with and actually just tell a lot of my own stuff, because I think that's how you teach people is you lead with your example and you don't keep secrets. So that's what the podcast is, but obviously with some humor in there to just keep things fresh, because I don't think you can be a comic and then get rid of all your humor. It kind of makes you flat.
Now you have your unpaid sidekick. Like, what is he? How does he factor in? Like, how is he your sounding board? Does he have his own stories too? Is he one that can rile you up and get you passionately talking about a subject? How does he fit into your jigsaw puzzle on this?
Yeah, this is my friend Nick Scopoletti, who is a friend from Connecticut. He was a beginning comic when I met him years ago, and we just vibed. He's a good dude. He's like half my age. He's Italian, big mouth, kind of like me, but a dude, even though I'm kind of a dude. And he is a lot of fun. And honestly, I'm shocked at the depths he goes to with his introspection. Like, I'll ask him questions about changing and fear of success and fear of failure, and he goes really deep. And I think especially for cis straight men, that's a great example of like you could be masculine and really a cool guy and funny, and also know yourself a little and reveal that. So I'm very proud of him. In fact, if the one thing that happens from this podcast is that he gets well known, then I'm happy with it, because that's really what would make me thrilled, is to like sort of pay it forward to someone who's starting out.
Now, you have been through a lot. What would your one tongue-in-cheek life coach advice be? Because I think the best life coaches are people who've lived. Some people go to a classroom, which is great, but I think people who've lived have a whole different perspective. What would you, if you could one sentence it, and then that's why people want to tune into that podcast and learn more and connect with you, what would you throw that one line out there for them?
I honestly think the answer to everything is it might not have been your fault, but it's your responsibility to fix it. So basically, if I could wear a t-shirt that says your trigger is not my responsibility, I would, because just because something happened to you doesn't mean you can't work on it. Is it going to be hard? Is it going to be traumatic? Do you have to go to a lot of effort to work on you so that you're not a danger or a hindrance to other people? Yes, but you got to work on your stuff and not think the world is just going to allow for you to just be rageful like I was, or angry, or in a state of hurting other people. So I really like people when they go internal and can look at themselves first.
Well, the podcast is Shrink This. Lisa Lampinelli, has been great talking to you.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, you guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.